before we go to Aaron, look at this. Tony Surga has put out, people are seeing the trucks with supplies arriving at universities across the country, including the exact same signs, shirts, masks, tents, tables, chairs, even with the same snacks, brand of water bottles, et cetera, et cetera. And you can bet the next phase will be the pickup trucks with pallets of bricks. This is not going to end well. But is Qatar financing these pro-Palestinian protests, really Hamas terrorist rallies? More specifically, it is the Muslim Brotherhood, which is Hamas, which is not just based in Qatar. They are the Qatar government, and their unofficial leader is Barack Hussein Obama II. Joining us now is, for this conversation, Aaron, live in Israel. What is it going on about 4:45 a.m. Friday morning in Israel?
Yes, it is, Brannon. Good to be with you. Dr. Rob, good to be with you too. Been listening to your conversation. And may I just make a comment on that?
Yes, please.
Brannon? As I was listening, it reminded me of an article I read by an Israeli scholar, and it was on the Incredible Hulk story. Remember Bruce Banner? He was the guy, a scientist working for the good of mankind, and every week there was an episode where he would just be about his business, and he would get bullied, and he would get pushed, and he would get intimidated, and he would warn, and he would say, don't push me, don't push me. And then what happened? Inevitably, he turned into this monster. And that's what the people that I saw in those videos, they see the monster. They see Israel and Israelis defending themselves, and in the line of defending themselves, they have to do some collateral damage. Sometimes we make mistakes, we're not perfect, but what they don't see is behind the monster is the Bruce Banner, what you and Dr. Rob were talking about, and General Flynn referring to, the good that we do for mankind, the good that we are doing, the democratic Judeo-Christian values that we hold. We have Arabs in our justice courts. We work with Arabs. We live side by side with so many Arabs. That's what the people aren't seeing. What they are seeing is the monster, or the sleeping bear that has awoken, because we're tired of getting bullied by these people.
Well, and it's more than bullied. It's gang raped. It's burned alive. Yeah. It's body parts cut off. It's babies put in ovens and cooked. I mean, it's atrocities of barbarism beyond belief. I want to see if can you give me an update on the pier situation, the Gaza pier that we're funding. We've sent a ship from the U.S. over there for that. I'm opposed to it. I have been. I felt, and I told this audience and you on multiple occasions, I felt it was just making for an environment that was very rich for another target, particularly U.S. service members and our ships. And yet here we have tonight a report coming from I-24 News that there's now been an attack on this Gaza port that they're trying to construct. Here they're trying to give aid to the Gazans, and Hamas is attacking the port for humanity.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. They're biting the hand that tries to feed them. Why? Because it serves their propaganda, which is exactly what the Nazis did before they started to annihilate Jews and people that they considered the opposition. So the update that I'm hearing is that the first stages of the pier building has begun, and American generals are saying that it could be up and operative by as early May. So we're talking in a very short period. But yeah, there are big concerns. A lot of the equipment that should have been helping with the bridge that collapsed in the United States a month or so ago is over here building that pier. But the main concern for the United States is its and the United Nations actually is its security, because of the 7 humanitarian aid workers that were in the region, and by accident, which Israel has openly confessed, their lives were taken. So, there's about 1,000 U.S. soldiers that are part of this building. They are defending or rather they are in charge of the security of it, along with Israeli Navy, Israeli soldiers, hundreds of Israelis who are also looking after it.
It's target rich.
building-
It's target rich. And I
Yeah.
just want to add that those 7 aid workers, they were set up by Hamas. And we have to always remind everyone that Hamas got them into a lineup of trucks, went into a building, came back out, and was, I think, deliberately trying to deceive Israel as to what was the aid workers and what was Hamas trucks, and they got caught up in it. Let me go to a quick little report and have both of you respond. I-24 News.
Hamas,
Let's see here.
but the fact is that Hamas militants are stationed all over the Gaza Strip. We see that despite the ongoing efforts by the
I'm going to back
IDF
that up a little bit. Here we go. Let's try that again. I want to back that up. It was advanced a little bit. See if it'll play.
Exclusive. This is a breaking news report coming out that Gazan terrorists fired mortar rounds at the workers constructing a floating sea dock off of Gaza for the delivery of aid supplies. We're going to go to our senior editor, Guy Azriel, in studio right now, who has compiled this report and has the details for us.
Right, Ariel. So the works for the construction of that floating dock off the Sea of Gaza is meant to assist the Palestinians with delivering humanitarian aid to the residents of Gaza. And what we've seen in recent weeks is ongoing rocket fire from the northern part of the Gaza Strip towards Israeli communities. Well, yesterday, in one of those rounds, mortars were launched actually at the works for the construction of that humanitarian port off the Sea of Gaza. We know that several American tools were damaged as a result of that launch, and also one person was lightly wounded when he was running for shelter.
Now,
Well, there you go. Dr. Lindstedt, your thoughts?
Yes. See, it's the Americans' fault. I'm being facetious. Here they are. They're constructing something to help the victims. They get shot. Now, if this was Israel, they would say it's Israel's fault. It's not America's fault. Whose fault is it? It's the people that are shooting the rockets, the weapons. That is sponsored by Hamas. That is sponsored through Iran, through Hamas, to the situation. It's never going to stop. This is their mentality. The only way to stop that is to remove the leaders who use these puppets, these shields, as a way to get to whoever they want to. I hope and pray that the American workers will be safe. But believe me, when the American workers are killed or injured, when there's multiple situations of danger, you watch, the world will turn this around and say, you know what? It's Israel's fault again. The blame never seems to go to the source of it. And Iran is the source. Hamas is the source. Sooner or later, we got to say, this is the problem. We've got to get rid of them. Let me tell you, when this really comes in our country, because I think these two subjects we talked about tonight are related. When the terrorists see how open our universities are and how susceptible our people are to excitement for gang violence, for demonstrations that are destructive, believe me, they know that they have a headquarters, they have a beach landing all across the United States, because we're watching this explode across the universities. It's not, the summertime doesn't normally stop protests. If anything, it encourages it. I think it could be a very long summer for the people in America.
Well,
and
and
it might
speaking
be
of a long
disastrous.
summer, here is what is reported. Several sites reporting. I'm sitting here at the desk live. I can't validate it myself, but there are several reports tonight stating that these pictures are popping up. There you see, welcome to the Ohio Union, of the police, of snipers, monitoring the situation at these schools, and trying to, obviously with very, very powerful equipment, telescope type, binocular type equipment, monitoring what's going on. Which begs the question, as I asked earlier in the broadcast, I am very concerned about it being a very dangerous time, because as we have the director of the FBI saying, look, there is all the lights are flashing for a terrorist attack. There is this week the report by him, there's a coordinated attack for something like a Moscow event where these people were murdered in that theater. I'm concerned, Aaron, here in the U.S. about all these young people being dragged out. Listen to what I'm about to say. All these young people being dragged out by propaganda, by lies, by payment, whatever, by rebellion, by hatred, some of them, by ideology, some of them, out of ignorance for many of them. They're dragged out into these situations in the public where there's a lot of them, compact and compressed. Police officers, security detail, media. And if you start having a terrorist attack at some of these places, Dr. Rob was just saying it. Do you think the ones going to be blamed will be the terrorists that carried it out? Or will it be Israel, you did this? You went too far in Gaza. I know you got attacked, but you went too far. You thus allowed this to spill over into the U.S. because we were then being politicized to send you money, to send you armament, to send you hardware. So the U.S. gets dragged into this, all Israel's fault, and now we're suffering terrorist attacks in the U.S., all Israel's fault. And then you watch more of the country turn against Israel. Are you concerned about this?
Oh, yeah, that's a terrible case scenario, but a very highly possible case scenario. There's the victim mentality. The people that have that mentality, then they'll do anything they want, and they will use their victimhood as an excuse. And you're right, this is a possibility. Seeing those snipers and seeing some of the police going into some of these universities, on the one hand, it's about time that the police, that the federal soldiers or whatever organization they're a part of, it's about time they showed some muscle. The flip side of it is all it takes is anarchists within the police, within the FBI, within these defense mechanisms to turn and become a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
That's a big concern as well.
Let me ask you both to respond to this. This woman has given me great concern for a while, Candace Owens. Here she's at it again, from interviewing Islamists and giving them a pass to other comments she's made that I think are anti-Semitic, in my opinion, to running around with Kanye West, who's a real piece of work. She doesn't seem like she's that discerning. She says, we're now at the phase where the crazy people are trying to convince the sane people that they're not crazy ones. What do you mean you don't think innocent children should be firebombed to death, end quote. So you're not going to wear a mask and you plan to just go see your grandma for Christmas, question mark. Same psychos. Really? Wait a minute. I'm not sure what she means here, but I guess when I read it today, I think what she's trying to say is the people that were masking up and doing all this were psychos and telling you shouldn't go visit grandma without a mask and a shot. Okay, that was nuts. But are you trying to say now that if you stand with Israel defending itself after they had their own people slaughtered, that somehow now you're into innocent children being firebombed to death? Is that what she's saying here? What is she saying here quickly, Dr. Lindstedt?
Well, I'm not sure I understand her. I wish she'd take a course in English and then she could write a proper sentence, because she's not making any sense. Here's what does make sense. Let's just take masks. Masks are for protection. There's times to wear a mask. Do you notice that these students, many of them are wearing the top medical masks? Those aren't cheap. They're about $10 a pop. But why are they wearing a mask? Well, the truth is, it has nothing to do with health. It has everything to do with accountability, to be recognized. And for them to stand in front of a police officer who's doing his job, yell at him, insult him, sometimes even physically push and shove him. I'm amazed at these policemen. They call them pigs. I call them police officers. I'm amazed that they don't fire back at them in terms of pushing them back. And wow, their restraint is remarkable.
It is.
I thank God that there's people that have that kind of temperament, because I'm afraid that after watching that for 6 or 8 days and seeing the same people come night after night, I may not respond in such a kind way.
Absolutely. Let me have you both respond to this in closing tonight. Here, the Jerusalem Post is reporting, senior Hamas official said on Thursday in an interview with the Associated Press that the group is ready to agree to a 5-year ceasefire and dismiss itself and disarm itself if a Palestinian state is established along pre-1967 borders. Go to you first, Aaron. Explain to our audience what pre-1967 borders mean.
Pre-1967 borders basically means that Israel would have to pull out of an area called Judea and Samaria, which politically is called the West Bank, which includes East Jerusalem, which includes the Temple Mount and the Western Wall, and a lot of other holy sites. Not only that, pulling out of the Golan Heights up on the northern border, and that is almost unthinkable. There, the yellow there, we would have to pull out over 500,000 Jewish people who live in that area, Judea and Samaria. So that, in other words, the green, all of the green, that would be what would remain our land, which is the thinnest area is only about a 30-mile width there. So it's very, very vulnerable. And it would mean that the Jordanians would take over the yellow areas, Judea and Samaria, which inevitably would make it easier for the Iranians and other forces coming from the east. So, that sounds like Hamas are nice, peacekeeping people. Yes, we want to give peace. All we're asking for is 5 years of ceasefire. You pull back to the 67 borders, plus they want all of the Palestinian refugees to be able to return back to their ancient land, which I think the number's about 5.5, 6 million refugees now. So, and the other thing is, we know from history where they say, we will give you a ceasefire if, how many times we have lived up to their requests, their requirements for a ceasefire, and literally the next day they break the ceasefire. It's like the son of Hamas said the other day, I was listening to him, he said, you cannot make a deal with the devil.
No, you can't.
It's as
well, of course,
simple as that.
The Islamists have Saudi Arabia, they have Egypt, they have Iran, they have Iraq, they have Syria, they have Jordan, they have Turkey. I mean, I could keep going. They have all and more, right? Yemen, Oman, I mean, so much more. I'm not even naming them all. But they want this little area in brown right here, Israel.
Exactly.
I mean, they act as though they're absolutely have nowhere to go. Dr. Lindstedt, closing comment?
Yeah, 5 years, that's enough time for them to rebuild, to restock, and to go after Israel again. Why do they say that 1967 border? In 67, they attack Israel. In 73, they attack Israel. And Israel won those battles, even though they had a surprise attack. There'll be no end to this kind of request. They're not asking a ceasefire for peaceful reasons. They're asking a ceasefire because they know that they're in danger of losing the foothold they've got. And I hope we don't let them reload. 5 years, that's a ridiculous number. And they're not about peace. They're about restocking and coming after Israel one more time.
BibleTipNow.org. Bible TIP now stands for Bible Truth in Prophecy. BibleTipNow.org. Dr. Lindstedt has a daily show at worldviewtube.com. Worldviewtube.com. And Aaron, he is at lighttothenationsministry.com. Lighttothenationsministry.com. He's our reporter on the ground in Israel, as it is 3 minutes after 5 a.m. Friday morning over there. Aaron, thank you for being with us.
It's a pleasure, Brannon and Dr. Rob. God bless. Thank you.
Dr. Rob, thank you.
Morning. My pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, guys. And folks, let me show you this right here, because again, this is in part how we have Aaron as a reporter on the ground. Our foundation sends him love offerings. We do that pretty often. He was a tour guide over there full time, and the war broke out October 7th. The tour came to a screeching halt. I've been interviewing him for about a year. I said, come on the air with me that next morning, that Saturday for U.S. time. He did for about 8 hours that weekend. And I said, you know what, why don't you just report for us, and we'll send you love offerings and help support you and your family as you offer the service of education and ministry reporting for us. So he does that. So if you appreciate Aaron, we do support him through our foundation. When you support our foundation, it allows us to help support him. Not to mention other things. Our foundation helps to underwrite some of our bandwidth bill to shove out the programming for free. Otherwise, we could go off the air. You didn't see it, you didn't see it, put it right behind a paywall and say, now you got to pay to get there. No, we roll it out right away here in a few hours for you to watch again and share with friends, broken down in segments at worldviewtube.com. So please support us there, won't you? May God save America. Take care.